Good evening. My name is Reisha Katahena, and I'm the board chair of PRIDA. And we are delighted to be hosting the Artist Talk in celebration of the printmaking history of Puerto Rico that has been inspired from the early 1950s through the mid 1980s, creating iconic posters by using printmakers' techniques. And right now, printmaking is such an amazing technique. We have these artists who are participating in our printmakers exhibition that started in March of 2021, and it's been thriving over the last few months, and we wanted to honor the artists that are participating. And just for your knowledge, printmaking is a technique of creating art by hand and by artists who create it. The posters that have been created promote festivals, government programs, and most of all foster genuinely Puerto Rican cultural identity. Right now, I am honored to have the following artists join us this evening to talk about their work, and they include Eliezer Berrios, Elsie Deliz, Gladys.lafrossia, Diana Hernandez, George Malave, José Orlando Ríos, Luis Cordero Santoni, and our guest, Robert Espiel Ayala. I am pleased to then welcome our host, Rosa Rosario. And she is actually one of the producers, video editors, and social media promoters of Diamante shows, along with her parents, Fernando Amestica and Dr. Rosa Morero. And the Diamante show is one of the longest running public access programs for the Manhattan Neighborhood Network, providing a platform to performers, singers, dancers of the community for more than 28 years. She is also deeply passionate on sharing and promoting and educating all things cultural, which is how she became a friend and ally of PRIDA. So I'm going to allow Rosa just to say a few comments before we start our artist talk tonight.
Hi, thank you so much for that kind introduction. I also want to state that I'm an ally to the LGBTQ community, and in that spirit, my pronouns are she, her. I am honored to be here on behalf of the Diamante show. You know, Louis and I go back a long time. He knows my spirit in promoting our culture and how important that is to me. Also, in doing a little bit of research on Printmaker, because I really wasn't aware until actually Louis introduced me to it a while back. And I was like, I didn't even know that was an art form. So it's going to be so interesting for you guys to offer that education. One thing that I did learn, which I found interesting, was that Printmaker, if you have a template or your matrix, that it is considered, even if you do duplicates of that same piece that you've done, is actually considered an original. I didn't know that. It's considered original, not a copy. So I'm so looking forward to learning so much from everybody. So in that spirit again, I'm going to be asking 3 questions, right? The questions are for all the artisans, because I believe your dedication and your inspiration vary, and you are all multifaceted. Elsie, I'm going to put you in the spotlight, girl, because you know I love you. I am wearing your earrings right now because you also make jewelry out of, you know, recycled metals, which I find so fascinating, right? So it's interesting how all of you have all these other frames of work, and we're talking about one of them, which is Printmakers, right? So all 3 questions are for everybody, but Elsie, I'm going to start with you. What brought you to this style of art called printmaking? You know, what introduced you? What brought you to this place?
Okay.
And then the second question is, of all your body of work, which one is your favorite, right? And why? And then 3, do you believe that it's important for your art to also reflect the social justice issues of what's going on today? If so, why? And if not, why not? Thank you.
Okay, question number 1. How was I introduced? I was introduced by Luis. He took me one day to a Taller Boricua printmaking workshop. And from there, you know, I had never done any printmaking. It's the first time. I was more like a mixed media artist, did watercolor, but printmaking was very foreign for me. But as soon as I learned the technique, I had Eliezer, which he's in there. He was also one of my mentors. Nitza Tucino was another one of our mentors at the Taller Boricua. And through them is how I, you know, started doing printmaking, because I had no clue on what printmaking was before I went to the Taller Boricua. So for that, I am very thankful, you know, for, you know, everything I learned. The second one, what do you mean, but what is my favorite body of work? That's what I'm a little confused here.
Like your Louis, what I'm asking is, of the things that you've done, what are you most proud of? What is your favorite piece?
My
What's your
favorite piece, well, I
Yeah.
have this one here in the background, which is one of my latest. That's a print.
Beautiful.
An linoleum print, which I printed instead of paper. This is printed on fabric.
Wow.
And it's a collage piece because each piece here is cut and pasted. So this was an exhibition last year at the Taller Boricua. And it was 4 or 5 artists from the Taller Boricua. Eliezer, which he's in there, he was part of the exhibition. And this has become one of my favorite pieces. So
beautiful.
And the other
Beautiful.
question, remind me of the other question because I forgot, old age.
It's okay. Do you think it's important for your art to reflect the social justice issues that are happening today? Yes, no?
To be honest with you, my work, I do not use a lot of, how can I say, my art does not reflect a lot of the social issues that are happening today. My art is more reflects nature, which is something that I like more. I mean, my inspiration I get from nature when I go to Puerto Rico or from here in New York or from the park. Political work, I am not attracted to. So.
Hey, that's honest and it's good. It's not for
That's my
everybody.
honest opinion. I cannot do it. And there's other people that do it and they could do it well, but it's not in me.
Exactly.
So,
no, that's how come whether it's important or not, it's a preference. And I'm just always curious if people think that it's, what they think about
why? Because I have some people that get offended and people that don't get offended. And I'm like, I'm stay neutral and I won't do any political work. So that's my opinion.
Listen, it's respectable and honorable. Respectable and honorable. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
So let's jump on to Diana.
Hi.
Diana. Hi, Diana.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
How's everybody?
Muy bien.
Hi, Diana.
Good. So you heard the 3 questions, right? You're also a multimedia type person.
Yeah. What brought you to the style of art called printmaking? Right. I actually came to printmaking out of need. I was working at the New Rican Poets Cafe and they needed a t-shirt and they didn't have a t-shirt. And everybody was asking, well, we really want to have a t-shirt. So I said, okay, well, I'm an artist. I guess I could learn how to do silk screen. So I went to the Lower East Side print shop. This is what, in 2000 and, no, this is in 19, the years go by fast. I was like, what year are we on? I think it was 1990. I took a class at the Lower East Side print shop and I got hooked. I learned the silk screen process and I developed their t-shirt, the first t-shirt they had, which I should have. This is the first image.
Oh, that's cute. Oh, it's like
knocking things down. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Una cara with stars in the mouth that were coming out. And from this image, I developed a lot of different t-shirts and we developed posters from the silk screen. And that was my first introduction to printmaking. And from then I started taking other classes like dry point, which was the second kind of image that I did, was just basically a plate scratched into plexiglass. I don't know if you can see that.
Yes.
That's so interesting.
And it was really the simplest forms of printmaking that I really enjoyed because I wasn't interested in using acids and coppers and all that yet. And then I started doing dry point etching after that, which was another kind of a plate that you raise the surface and then you can make images. And I did more like, I started doing more Taino-based art. And
wow, it's beautiful.
I don't know if you could see it, but it's.
Yeah.
We can make it out. Yeah.
So from there, then I started doing all kinds of different printmaking and which brings me to the question of social justice. I'm going to skip to 3 first and then go back to 2.
Okay.
I went to the Taller Boricua, you know, and from there, they used to, Nitza Trufino, Marcos Dimas, who's, you know, amazing artists, amazing. And a lot of all the people that are here, you know, like Luis was there, and George Malave, and Ellie, Berrios. So those are the 3 people that I know there that are on this panel. And Nitza was always interested in political art, you know, so she would like pose a question, like women revolutionaries, Puerto Rican women, and what Un Perro Mundo art, we developed what that was. And I'm not going to look for it now because otherwise I'm going to keep you here, but it was basically a bulldog, an image of a bulldog in the world. The face was in the world. So it was really interesting, but I'm also not that much of a political artist. I do a lot of work with found art, and I do a lot of textural art too, with canvas that I shape and mold into like sculptures, and I put onto the canvas. And so I'm also a painter and a textural sculptor. And about 2 years ago, I started doing ceramics, which I love as well. So
wow.
I mean, art has many different dimensions, you know, like I'll just show
Yeah,
you.
it absolutely does. It's amazing how you guys have, I don't even have 1 ounce of that. I'm so jealous. It's amazing. Like the creativity, no, seriously, the creativity is astonishing. Like how did you even think of that?
Heads.
Oh.
2-headed.
Beautiful.
It's like una cara de 2 partes. And then it has a
Awesome.
vase in the center. Stick it in.
So is that number 2? Is that your favorite?
No, my favorite is not here actually. My favorite is more some prints that I made that actually is, one of them is in the Taller right now. And yeah, I mean, I can't say you have a favorite, you know, that's like saying you have a favorite kid. It's not
you
really
do.
possible. I mean, maybe you do, but it changes, you know, like maybe for 1 month or so, I like this one. And then I go, oh, I don't like that. The next one that I do, usually it's the next one that I do that inspires you, that becomes your favorite. But
Thank
I
you
have
so
one favorite
much.
that was in a show that I don't know where it is right now. So I'm kind of upset about that, but hopefully eventually I'll get it back.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing. I'll tell you, it was amazing knowing all that art that you do. My goodness. So thank you for that. Okay. So next, let's hear from George Malave.
Hey, George.
Hi. How are you?
Good.
Yeah. What was the question?
What brought you to this style of art called printmaking? What's your favorite body of work?
Actually,
then social justice.
It was Jose too, Luis rather. He introduced me to
That's why we're leaving you for last.
He was working in a workshop, and I was interested in the process, and he asked me to speak to Nitza, who was running the workshop. She said, "Come on down," gave me a chance. And so I fell in love with it. So I've been there a couple of years now, 4 or 5 years now. And so I've been doing that. Mostly I've been photographer, and I do painting, and I've done painting. So it's really a combination of the visual arts.
Yeah, no, George, you're being modest. You know, he is one of the photographers in our community. Going back to 40 years, he was one of the original founders of El Foco, which is a photography group in the Bronx. Que lleva como 40 años, you know. So when he was a little kid, he was already like starting trouble in the community.
Well, thanks for pointing that out. You're very humble, George, but don't humble your art, not at all. Like, you're extraordinary.
I'm not humbling my art.
Share that.
No, I think it speaks for itself.
Good.
What I love about about the process is also meeting all the other artists. I think being part of a group like PRIDA and other creative people helps us become better artists. You know, we challenge each other, we learn from each other, and the mistakes that the others make, we learn from.
Oh yeah.
It becomes a way of socializing, and we help others. So that I think it's a wonderful thing that we gather together as groups and not just individuals, and help one another. I think we lift each other up when we do that.
That's awesome. So tell me, which is your favorite body of work, whether in printmaking or photography?
No, it's the next one.
Next one.
It's the one I haven't done yet.
Diane, you're right. The next one.
Right on.
That's a good one. The next one. I really like that. The next one. That's a good answer.
Yeah.
And how about social issues? So do you think that your art is very reflective? I'm sure as a photographer, it is.
I think more photography than the other arts. Painting and graphics are more personalized. I think in graphic printing, what I've been trying to do is to use the still life, using Puerto Rican themes. And in that way, it becomes a social way of speaking.
Mm-hmm.
So that there are very few still lifes that I can remember as a Puerto Rican kid growing up. And I'd like to try to add to that. So when you see a group of avocados, you know, and you see it done by a Puerto Rican, then you say, oh, why not? And so that way we can help each other express our culture through the things that we use, things we eat, the everyday things. So that's my way of doing it.
Yes.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's very heartfelt. Somebody was saying something? I'm sorry. Okay. So we're going to go to the next person, José Orlando Ríos.
Hola. How are you?
Good. How are you? Welcome.
I'm good. I'm great. Thank you very much. Hanging in, you know.
All right. So you've heard the 3 questions. You want to start with the first one?
Yeah, sure. You know, I got into printmaking kind of like by accident. I was doing my 2nd degree in art, studio art at Lehman College, and it was the only class that I had not taken. So I decided to go to the library and do some research before I took the class. So I came home and I started carving a block. Next thing I know, I printed it and showed it to one of the Master of Fine Arts students, and he said, hey, you know, you got a talent there. And I said, okay, I'm gonna go with it. And, you know, I've taken every single printmaking class at Lehman, and it's been great. You know, all the good teachers, Melissa Brown and Katie and Professor Gwynn, you know, they've all taught different styles and given me a chance, you know, to experiment and get good at
the art.
At the art, yeah, you know, but I think it's like, you know, you get hooked. You get hooked. You know, now, you know, I have the PRIDA press right behind me and in the kitchen. So, you know, it's become a discipline. It's like writing. I get up in the morning and I soak a piece of paper, and then I think about what I'm gonna do. By the end of the evening, you know, I start coating a plate and getting ready to do something. You know, and it's been an honor, you know, it's been great, you know, to be able to share, you know, well, actually, you know, with only a few people so far, but, you know, hopefully, you know, hopefully it'll mushroom into, you know, a real, you know, thing. But, you know, silk screen is my favorite.
Silk screen? Okay. Yeah,
silk screen is my favorite. You know, I'm making posters and doing, you know, that kind of stuff is great. You know, doing t-shirts, you know, or doing bags, you know.
So what's your favorite?
I do bags and I sell them at you know, Comité Noviembre, and I make a lot of money. you know, so
Okay.
yeah.
Okay,
Right now, my
so-
favorite is monoprint.
Mhm.
You know, right now,
Monoprint?
my favorite is monoprint, monotypes. You know,
Mhm.
you could, it's a one of a kind.
Right.
You know, I try to take it to the next level. I try to do a little mixed media, and I have, you know, I have 3 pieces in the show right now, and my favorite is the surfer.
The surfer. Ah, okay.
The surfer.
You have it there?
Okay.
It's
Oh,
large.
nice.
It's
Yes.
15, it's 15 by 22. I'm proud because I did it at home. I did not do it in the
Wow.
studio. I did it at home. I did it by hand.
It's a beautiful
Yeah.
color selection.
And the colors, I'm
It's a
proud
beautiful-
because I worked with the hues of the different colors, and, you know, and just try to be creative, you know, not just one yellow. The whole spectrum, you know, as much as I could get, you know. But it's a very abstract figure, you know. It has tribal images in the background, you know, and
Okay.
that's kind of like one of the things that I really like. I like to express
it
the
a
culture,
All right.
Mhm.
express
Okay,
the
so how
culture
about-
through that.
Okay, so answer the question now that you say the culture. So how about the question 3 on social justice? And do you believe that your art represents or
I'm very
feel like
comfortable
it?
voicing my opinion when it comes
Okay,
to political.
Yeah.
I showed this to Luis
See,
the
not
other
everybody
day.
is, but
You know, it's a monoprint, and then I collaged and chin collated and I just went through all my magazines and just looked for the what I wanted to say, you know, the reactionary person,
Oh, I like that.
you know, which is
oh, that's
both,
awesome. Yeah.
which is
Wow.
both,
Wow,
it's
the
both
detail on
past
that.
and present. You know, Albizu is the past, and all of the messages are, you know, the timeless and present things that we have to say, you know, about, you know, what it's like, you know, and living in, you know, in the society,
World.
and you know, living as a Puerto Rican, living, you know, and, you know, Commonwealth, or whatever you want to call it, you know, and I'm happy, you know, I have no qualms
Listen.
about making a political
Well, you know
statement.
what? Well, thank you. And it's true. You have to be brave. You have to be honest about what your intent is with your art. And sometimes, you know, the artist does represent the culture. So it's very important. So thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, so the next person that we're going to be speaking with is Gladys.
Lafrossia.
Hola.
Hi. Hola.
Hello. Where should I start?
I'm sorry. I didn't say your full name. Can you repeat your full name for me, please? I'm sorry.
It's right. It's Gladys Rosas Lafrossia.
Lafrossia. Okay.
And my just a little, I guess, background. My mom is Puerto Rican, and my dad is Colombian. But you can say that I was mostly raised with the Puerto Rican culture. Visited the island almost every year until I was 18. Went for Christmas, and you know, I have 20 cousins and 9 aunts and uncles. We have a very big family. What brought me to printmaking was the program, my graduate program, actually at Lehman College. I have nothing but great things and great experiences at Lehman with
Nice.
my professors. Melissa Brown was the first to introduce like this session that I had with screen print, and then later on woodcut. I also took classes with Katie. I took classes with John Mejias, and I just fell in love with the art form.
Awesome. So which is your favorite body of work?
That's hard. That's hard to say. I have 3. I can never pick a favorite, but I could speak to the exhibit, and if I had to choose one, which is a little unfair, right? It would probably be Las Mujeres. This is the original design for Las Mujeres, and it was basically a way to express the three, what you would say, three, I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous.
It's okay.
Okay.
So am I. So am I. It's okay.
It's like the triad that runs in our blood. The African, the European, the Taino. And it was a way for me to express that. Funny enough, there's a woman who fell in love with the design, and she bought several prints from me. And she told me that she bought them for her friends because she felt like it symbolized sisterhood. And I thought that was really cool that.
Actually, I have to tell you that when I saw it, that's exactly what I thought. I thought of my three best friends. So she hit it right on the spot. Wow. Amazing.
I thought that was so great. And so as I've changed mediums, like I started with the watercolor painting, and then I went into, I did a carving of it. And now I'm playing around with an acrylic painting. Each time they change a little bit, but the whole genesis of it was that, me trying to express that. So that's kind of why I would pick that one.
Oh, I agree with you. All right, so how about your social justice issues in your art?
You know,
yay or nay?
I had to think about that for a little bit. I wouldn't say that my whole category, like my whole genre of work is political, but if you think about it, I absolutely think it's important to reflect social issues of our time. I happen to think that anything, whether it's personal or especially personal themes, which I think is the hallmark of my work, can espouse social issues, social justice. One of the pieces that I did for Comité Noviembre, pre-COVID, was a piece called Resistencia. This is it.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
It came from a place where, even though I'm a New Yorican. I wasn't born in Puerto Rico, but Puerto Rico lives in me. And when the whole issue of the people, and they were calling for Ricardo Rosselló to step down from office, and the passion that they had, and even the joy and exuberance that they had in getting together and banding together, I found was
across all parties, which was like amazing for Puerto Rico.
It was something that was inspiring. I would watch it every day, and my own family members were present at the protests. They took beautiful pictures, and it inspired me so much. And this is where it came from. And so even though part of that work was my pride of being Puerto Rican and my pride of the people and the beautiful way that they came together to make things happen, and it did, that is clearly a social justice issue. So I think sometimes they sort of mesh.
Indeed.
Yeah,
indeed they do.
And in history, people do look to the writers and the artists to kind of get an insight into what was happening in history. That will certainly be part of it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you. And like I said, that was one of my favorite mujeres. It just reminded me so much of my friends. So thank you for that. Okay, next up is going to be I hope I don't butcher your name. Eliza Berrios.
Eliezer.
Eliezer, you see? I am so sorry.
It's Eliezer in America.
Eliezer.
Eliezer in Israel. And Eliezer for the Spanish-speaking folks.
That's right.
Thank you for that. So sorry.
No problem. I've been called everything with an E.
Ellie, for short?
Ellie for short, no problema. Ellie, that's what it is for short. Yes. Myself as a printmaker, I'm one of those students or those artists that were fortunate to go to an art school. Well, so art and design started me off with some monoprints. I did some monoprints at art and design.
Nice.
And then I went off to art college, visual arts. And I connected, taking courses, and I took an etching class. So that started me out in that area of etching and working on a plate. And I hooked up with one of the professors there. And I found that he was doing his work, illustrative work for newspapers, for New York Times, but he was doing etching as opposed to drawings often. So he had his black and white sketches with his pen, but he had certain assignments where he used the technique of etching to illustrate whatever assignment he had. So that was my real test, or my real taste at working with the printmaking field. But out of that, when I put that aside, let's say I was doing more pen and ink and pastel work throughout all the years. And of course, I was teaching and working with children and stuff like that, doing arts and crafts, all that stuff. But eventually, a number of years ago, NITSA had an open house for the printmaking class. I'd say about 7 years ago or so. And I said, oh, great, and interesting. Let me see if we could check it out. I went with a dear friend who has passed away, who was one from the group named Vinny. And we went to check it out, and we eventually realized that, oh, she was recruiting for a printmaking group, a collective. And I said, oh, pretty good. I can get back into the technique of doing printmaking, because I do a lot of pen and ink, and pen and ink lends itself to the printmaking process.
Okay.
At exchange there. So I knew I could work even further, and the real the prize was that there's a press, there's a printmaking press here in the neighborhood. Normally you would have to pay $1 to use a printing press or so, or find it somewhere else. But having that printing press here and having access to it, and then creating that collective with NITSA did with Rafael Tufino print shop, and meeting all the artists as George mentioned, having all the artists come together as a collective and learning from each other and bouncing off ideas and all. So that really cemented my love again for printmaking.
That's amazing. So which is your favorite piece or collection of work?
It's behind me. It's a large piece. It's a lino print, which is the printing on.
Oh, my favorite.
Oh, wow.
Of that
Beautiful.
Piece. Nice. A lovely piece.
20 by 30.
Nice.
So it's my large.
Beautiful.
It's 20 by 30. And that's a lino print, meaning on linoleum.
Linoleum.
So that's one of the techniques that we were able to use with the printmaking. We did some mono prints. We did some etching, a bit of etching, silk screen, a number of us. But lino prints, linoleum prints was the main thrust that we were working on. And as for the social issues, I'm a believer in that all artists should reflect their times, be it in dance, movie, or the visual arts. So I'm very much a believer in that, social issues, and being able to express yourself in the arts in some way, be it painting, drawing, and printmaking is a real, I mean, throughout the times, it's been used as a source to spread the word, because you can make multiple prints. And that's what I grew out of printmaking also, as a social weapon.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that beautiful painting print that you made. It's awesome. Okay, so we're gonna go on now to the one and only Luis Cordero Santoni.
Drum roll.
Influencer. Influencer.
Hey, so thank you very much. Yeah, I've been a digital artist. I put all my work in the computer for about 30 years now, making flyers, making posters, making, PowerPoint presentations, and all kinds of stuff, basically on the computer. So even to this day, I live in front of the computer. So some years ago, I decided, you know what, I love art, but I got to get away from the computer. It's making me blind anyway. So
there you go.
get away. So I want to do art with my hands, which I used to do when I was in junior high school and all that stuff. And so I went to a workshop that El Taller Boricua was giving. And I fell in love with the printmaking technique of drawing, making a design on a piece of linoleum, cutting it out, inking it, putting paper on it, and doing it, and then doing it again. Like Rosa said, it's an original. Every time that you do it, it's basically an original. And so that's what brought me to it. And I've kept with it. I try to make something different every time. But I'm always inspired by my culture, my politics also, which is,
Question number 3.
Those two go hand in hand in my case. It's like difficult for me to make something that means nothing to me. It's like something abstract. I have a hard time making abstract things because they don't really mean anything to me. So I don't know if it's something that I'm gonna like or not gonna like. I want to make stuff that I like, and hopefully other people will like it too. And that's my answer to the first question. And the third question, in most of my art, I try to draw my inspiration from the politics of the day, from the independence movement for Puerto Rico, my my culture. Like I said, like in the shirt where I have my Alma Afro Boricua, which was originally a linoleum cut, and I made a copy of it to the computer, and then I put it on T-shirts. And the funny thing about this is that I was just learning. So when I started to put the text in, I did it backwards. I was able to read it.
I thought it was backwards because of the computer.
You could have had it at the computer in the glass.
That's what I thought.
One was backwards, so I had to go back and change it because when I made a print, it's like, this is backwards. I can't read this, So I had to go back and redo it. And I love it. This is one of my best-selling T-shirts. I go to festivals and I sell some of my designs. This is one of the few that comes directly from a linoleum cut. I have a few others that I have in mind to put. For example, I have one based on the poem by Cordero, who wrote a poem where he says, I would be Puerto Rican even if I was born on the moon. I have a picture of a Puerto Rican holding a big Puerto Rican flag, and he's standing on the moon. So that was in the first PRIDA version.
Yeah, I seen that one. That one's so cool.
Yeah, so that's my favorites. And that was only a test. I haven't been able to do more copies.
Understood.
Because of the pandemic.
Right. And is that your favorite though? Is that your favorite piece?
Yeah, right now that's my favorite piece. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it will be mine too. And La Luna with that Puerto Rican flag. Yeah. Well, you know what, Luis? Thank you so much. Not only that, but you're also so much of an inspiration. I know that culturally, when I first moved here to New York from Jersey, I really wanted to dive into the culture of here in Manhattan. And the first place that I went to was your bookstore. The semi-underground. Oh my God. And I went through the poetry readings and I bought books, and it was such a nice place to go to. And it's a shame, that it wasn't sustainable. Like people, what is it with people that don't like books? Okay. Anyway, but so thank you, and because of you, I've met all these wonderful artists. I've been involved heavily with the committee, with Comité Noviembre as well. So I really want to thank you. You really have been a pillar of motivation. So thank you.
Never been called a pillar before. That's a new one.
Well, you're a pillar, all right? All right. Now, I know that we have Robert Esper. He said something about that he's just here to watch or to listen or to, but I would like to, I think he has the most experience in this field. Am I mistaken or am I correct? Yes, in printmaking?
No, no, I'm not.
Oh.
This is the, so
No? Oh, okay.
I'm an honorary member of the workshop as a
Of the
friend,
workshop.
as a friend of PRIDA, and as a member. I'm a photographer.
Oh, you're a photographer.
I'm
Oh,
an
okay,
exhibitor
okay.
photographer, 60 years here and there in Europe, in the United States, and locally, and so on. So my thing is
Oh, okay. I
photographic.
wasn't sure.
Yeah.
So then, then I'm gonna go back to you, Louis, then, since, like, who has the most experience with, let's just cut, who has the most experience with this field, with printmaker? You?
Among us here is not me. I thought maybe Jose, because he's been doing it for a long time, and also Diana.
And Eliezer?
You know, she doesn't look that old, but she's been doing it for
Huh? ¿Qué tú dices? I don't look that old, huh? It's
So,
you know, it's like it doesn't matter how long ago you've done it. It's how much you're doing it.
All right. No, I just have,
You know what I mean?
I want to ask a question, like a little bit more towards like, how many types of different, because I heard monotype, silk screening, material, dry point. So I just want to ask the questions for the person that's most experienced to kind of maybe explain a little bit of each of those types.
Yeah.
Is that a good question to ask or no?
That's a hard question.
It is.
It's a hard question?
Yeah.
It's a good question because there is a basic 3
I mean, there's different types. Like I don't do a lot of linoleum. I think Ellie does, and
I do linoleum.
you know, so, and Elsie does more than I do. I just do a lot of dry point, and I do a lot of colorgraph, which is another kind, you know, which is you build up the surface with the stuff called carborundum, and it creates an embossed image, which I tend to like a lot. I mean, it looks very much like the plate. So the reproductions look like this. They look like they're very raised, you know, and I like that feel. I like that there's a feeling to them, you know. So those.
Hello.
Yeah, because I heard some. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, the beauty about the collective was that many of us had a different technique.
Yeah, so I mean, you said printmakers, but printmakers, you're using linoleum, you're using, what was it, dry point etching,
right?
Silk screening,
Etching on plexiglass.
Plexiglass. I mean, it's amazing. Like
plexiglass and solar plate.
Solar plate.
The title is so deceiving. Because there's so many under that umbrella. There's so many material.
Wood cut is nice too.
Yeah, copper
wood
plate.
cut. Yeah, I read that on the internet.
It's infinite, really, and the beginning
kind
of printmaking, which Ríos was talking about, where you hand press. I mean, that's like the beginning process of printmaking. You know, somebody took and they started hand pressing it with blueberries and making colors on paper and papyrus. You know, everything started from just the desire to reproduce.
It's just amazing. I have to tell you guys, I learned so much today, and it's really fascinating. And I hope the people that watch and join this forum also enjoy it and learn a lot from it, because I sure did. And I want to thank you all for the wonderful body of work that you do. Continue to do it. You have a fan and you have friends, and you keep us inspired, especially I think for the younger people. I think I really want to try to reach out to younger folks so that they can learn from this. Now, I would also like to ask, so where, like, if somebody like me, you know what, I think I want to try it. Like, where would I go? Are there places that teach it here in the Bronx and in Manhattan? Louis, anybody? Who knows? Go ahead, Louis.
Yeah, there's some places. I mean, I go to Lehman College. You know, I'm a senior. I know I don't look it, but yeah, I'm a senior, and I get away with a nice, low tuition, and I learn from there. But what we want to do is we want to do that too. That's why we have the PRIDA Printmakers group. So these are all printmakers that are member of PRIDA, and we just basically got together and we started this group. And hopefully this group will go even further. Hopefully we'll get a space. We have a printmaking press already, thanks to Robert and his connections and stuff, And
awesome.
We're trying to get a space at some point in the future so that we can hold workshops and teach people who want to learn to do this, because not everybody is able to go into a particular place and learn, and do this. Sometimes they're very picky.
Exactly.
And sometimes you got to pay a lot of money. This is a skill that you learn, and they can charge you a lot of money, just to learn, take a couple of classes and learn how to do printmaking, whether it's using linoleum or a piece of wood or a piece of plexiglass or some other techniques that Diana is using. And it's hopefully this will, if anybody wants to join, once you join PRIDA, and you're a printmaker, we'll reach out to you. And hopefully this group will also serve as an example for the other members of PRIDA and the artists in our community, that if you have a discipline, you have a skill that you are, that you like, that you share, you develop your own little group, and, you grow with a group,
Yeah, forming alliances, because this way you're stronger together, and because it's not a competition. You all have your skill set, you all have your gift that's innate to you alone,
Exactly.
So that's amazing.
And PRIDA is here to help foment that kind of unity between the artists and the Puerto Rican artists in particular, because there are all kinds of artists. For example, I was mentioning about George Malave being one of the fine Puerto Rican photographers. I was wrong. George Malave is one of the great photographers in our country who happens to be Puerto Rican. That's the right
Amen.
way.
That's it.
Oh, Josh.
That's it. Well, thank you so much again, everyone. One, for having me host this. And please, I continue your good work, continue your alliances. And now we're going to give it back to Reisha to tell us a little bit more about PRIDA.
It's been very educational. I've learned a great deal, not only now being a board chair for PRIDA, but also being I'm an artist in a different way, where I produce and do work to support artists. But learning and listening to all of you today has been an extraordinary experience. We are delighted to be hosting this Artist Talk on behalf of PRIDA in celebration of the printmaking history of Puerto Rico that has transpired from the early 1950s through the mid-80s, creating iconic work by using printmaking techniques. And I am honored to have the following artists that have joined us tonight to talk about their work. Eliezer, Berrios, Elsie, Deliz, gladys.lafrossia, Diana Hernandez, George Malave, José Orlando Ríos, and Luis Cordero Santoni, and also our honorary Robert Espiel Ayala, who's come to observe and also give his feedback and support as he's done. And we really do appreciate Rosa Rosario, who's hosted us tonight. And she's asked some wonderful questions of all the artists, and we've learned so much about you. As you learn about PRIDA, as people are watching, or even to your network, please know that PRIDA right now is actually consistently growing and trying to do wonderful work in supporting our Puerto Rican artists. And if you are interested in learning more about the Printmakers exhibition, please visit our website at www.prida.org. And that will have actually to showcase and highlight the arts works that these artists have produced at this time. You can also join as a member. Our membership program is reopening again. It was kind of on a hold for the pandemic that has happened. But now that we are getting back on track and opening up our doors, we would love you to be a part of the experience. And if you haven't signed up for our Atagrama newsletter, we give weekly updates on things that are happening, or if you have exhibits, shows, things that others are doing, we will post that for you to support, and also to try to help find funding that's going to help you grow and help build our Puerto Rican artist community. It's been a pleasure to be your moderator tonight. I've really enjoyed being a part of this and learning about all of you. And I wish you much success in what this new year of 2021 can bring. So thank you all for joining, and we do appreciate you being here tonight.
Thank you. Muchas gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel.
That's great.
I just wanted to mention two things. The curator for this PRIDA Printmakers exhibition is Elsie, sitting right there.
Right here.
She's the curator.
Right
You do a
here.
wonderful job, and all of you do wonderful work. And thank you, Rosa, for letting everybody share their stories. And thank you, because you all are an inspiration and you do extraordinary work. Continue what you do. We cannot be expressive without you.
And one other thing, right? There's one other artist who's not here. That was Doris Cordero. I just want to make sure that we mention her. So she's just not able to join us today, but we're with you.
One more thing, I had added a link for those who are interested in printmaking. I put it in the chat, and it's by the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and they have little demonstrations of printing techniques. So you can follow.
Okay, great.
You can
Wonderful.
do that.
Okay, that's great.
Right. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
that's
Have
it.
a great
Good
evening.
night.
We look forward to seeing you.
Bye.